Okay.
All right.
All right. Hey, everyone. My name is Damon Lewis, and my co-host is Andrew Fritz, and you're listening to or watching the Surf the Astral show. We're doing a podcast, and we're also putting it on YouTube, depending on how you want to, listen or watch. And today, we're going to talk about our first time, our first experiences lucid dreaming and astral projection.
Mm-hmm. Cool. You want to start with your first one, or you want me to go?
I'll I'll start with my first astral projection.
Cool. Yeah, go
That's
ahead.
my first one. It's a kind of a cool story because it shows that they're really for people trying to have a willful astral projection. It could seem very daunting, uh, but spontaneous ones. That's how my first one happened. Spontaneous ones can happen just you know using your will if you want it. So I think it was around maybe 2008, something like that, about 10 years ago. Uh, I can't remember exactly why I thought of it. Maybe it was just a book that I saw in a uh, metaphysical shop. But for
Mm.
some reason, this book was calling to me, and it just the book looked cool. I thought I would read about it, so I bought it, and I brought it home, and I only got couple of pages in, just a few pages. Not even there was no instruction. I was just in the introduction, and I said, "That's cool. What I want to do is I want to get outside my body, do a front flip, look down, check myself out, and that's it's just what I had in my head. And I was excited about it,
Nice.
and lo and behold, that night, just spontaneously shot out of my body. And as I shot out of my body, that's when I became lucid. Did a front flip, hovered above my body. Actually, and now remembering it, that's the first and only time that I actually saw like my body just laid out on the bed
Mm.
and looked at myself there. I'm hovering on the ceiling, and anybody who's done astral projection very like spontaneously or saw the body, they kind of know this. It's a quick story, so it just right back in.
Mm-hmm.
But I've talked to other people that have had similar experiences where it doesn't have to be so labor intensive. It doesn't have to be so, you know, but the ones that are like that are just more spontaneous and,
Mm-hmm.
they just kind of happen. You know,
Right. Yeah, it's been a lot of my experiences have been spontaneous. Not that I haven't been putting work behind it, but um, they can end up with most of the time spontaneous. But sounds like you were doing some spiritual parkour there.
yeah, yeah,
That's cool.
yeah,
Uh, and you said yours was about what? You said about 10 years ago or somewhere around there? Or?
yeah, about 10 years ago. Yeah. I've had other experiences throughout my whole life. I think I mentioned that in the first episode
Yeah.
where but it wasn't that clear.
Right.
I had re-entry or exit experiences, but it was never as clear as like seeing my body
Right.
or knowing what it was, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, that's I'm trying to think back to I'm 36 now, so I want to say like it was my maybe early to mid 20s. So 10 plus years ago maybe, I don't know. So I was living in so if I remember correctly, I was in Chicago. I did like a year long clairvoyant training, and I moved to California. I was like going to go um, me and my friend were going to go over there, and he was going to do film stuff and I was going to do music stuff and get an apartment together. And when we got there, I looked online, and the school posted something online about this whole new training, and it was this like men's clairvoyant training. And I was like, oh man, that's awesome. And so we had this like conflict of like, wait a second, all right, we just spent a year like building towards something we want to do, like in California. And then we saw this men's clairvoyant training. It was about a 6-month training. and we were like, do you want to stay here in California, or you want to go do this men's training? And we ended up deciding to just kind of ditch our California plans and go back to Chicago and do this men's training. And so we end up back in Chicago, and I'm with one of my friends, and you'll probably get to meet her. We'll probably do an interview with her about clairvoyance or near-death experiences. But so there's one night where we're at her house, and it's late at night, and at this point, I've never taken any trainings about astral body or anything like that. I eventually did. And I did about like 3 months of it. That was in the future, but at this time I didn't. And I just had this kind of knowingness of like, I think I know how to do this healing, this type of healing, where you lift someone's astral body out of their physical body, start to do some work, on their astral body, their physical body, the connection points, and then you put them back in the physical body. So I was doing that to my friends. And then later that night, I just had this feeling of like, oh, there's something about death. Like I had this feeling of like, I'm going to die tonight. Not like physically die or anything like that. I wasn't like concerned for my physical well-being or health. It's just, there's an energy of death. It was kind of, I just sensed something was going to happen. I didn't know what was going to happen. So my friends, 2 friends were in the living room watching TV, doing their thing, and I fell asleep on the floor. And I went unconscious as I normally would. And then at some point, I don't know how the duration of this, but I became conscious, and it was just darkness. I had no idea what was going on. I just knew that, hey, I have awareness right now, and I'm not sure where I am or what's going on. And I just thought I was in just pure darkness. And then I started to like move my awareness downwards. And then I could start to see more things. I could see like I was floating kind of above my friend's condo, above the actual building itself, but I could actually see through the roof and see through her ceiling. And she was like one of the top floors. And I could see in just the way her apartment looked, just from a bird's eye view. And I could see like my friend on the couch. I could see her in the chair. The lights are on, and all that. And then suddenly I looked in the middle, down on the floor, and then I saw my body. And I was like, whoa. And I completely freaked out. Snapped back in my body. Yeah, it was like instantaneous. And so just like you, I was like, it's the same kind of experience where I saw my physical body, and I was like, holy shit, like I got a little scared there. But that whole experience, I didn't perceive I didn't see my astral body. I didn't really actually feel like I was in any kind of form. I felt just kind of like a ball of light, perhaps. I didn't see any kind of form, arms, legs, nothing. But yeah, it took me a moment to what the darkness was. It was at nighttime. It was just literally I was staring at like just sky. And then I started shifting my awareness. I could see like, street lamp on the, by the street, and then obviously towards the apartment itself. But yeah, so that was my first conscious out of body experience. That was kind of early to mid 20s.
So can you go into more about the exercise of lifting the partner out of the body? How does that work?
Yeah. So again, I went to this school. I took, a year-long clairvoyant training. I took some other advanced trainings, and one of them, there's like a 6-month astral body training. I only took half. Oh, sorry.
What's you don't think they'll probably mind? What can you name the school? Does it still exist? People want to look it up.
Yeah. So it's called Envision, INVISION, Envision.
And where is it located?
It's in Chicago.
Chicago. Okay.
Yeah. So I don't know at this point. They used to be in the Lakeview area. That's where I went, but that building's completely gone. Like I revisited Chicago, and it's not there anymore. Like they had to move because I think they were doing something with the L train, I guess, or the tracks there. So I think they relocated downtown. I just don't know if they're there anymore because of COVID or what. It's just been a while since I've been in touch with them. But I know
they probably have a website.
Yeah, they're for sure online though. So I know it's envisionpsychic.com, and
okay,
that's where I got all my trainings. I think things have really changed there. It's a very different setup, but so yeah, they had like a 6 month astral body training. I took about half of it, and yeah, essentially, your astral body is this energetic duplicate of the physical body, and so we'd be on this massage table. Well, first of all, like we were on a second floor of a building, and while I was in my first main training, I helped them transition to the third level, and there was this one room in the far back, and the energy there was like horrible, like terrible.
Mm.
Like literally they had to like repaint, decorate, play, literally had a boombox play music for like 24 hours a day, essentially just one way of shifting the energy. They did energy work, candles, all sorts of stuff, and they shifted
Yeah,
it. Oh, good.
that's a great point to note, just to interject there,
Yeah, yeah.
is, one of the things that I was just hearing somebody talk about lately,
Hmm.
preparing your space. We could talk
Oh,
about
yeah.
that the whole episode of like preparing a space, preparing your body, stuff like that. But just
Yeah,
to throw that out there, that's great.
that is a good point. Yeah, I was working with someone not too long ago, and I brought this example up, this one room that had just horrific energy, and they transformed it, but they did it physically and spiritually. Like they obviously have the tools to do it energetically, but they also use physical tools to heal the space as well. So anyway, that space transformed. It became like my favorite room, and it had this energy of like a kind of dreamy cosmic energy to it. So I'd always loved going there and meditating before classes. That became the astral room, and it was a small room, and there's a couple chairs in it, but there was mainly a big massage table in the space. So essentially, when there's an astral body healing, whether it was someone off the street came in to get one, or just amongst the classmates, one person would lie down on that massage table. They have a blanket over them. And then there'd be usually multiple people. There'd be someone that's in charge of the healing, kind of standing right by the head of the person.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'd have at least a couple people on either side, sometimes even someone at the bottom of the feet. And everyone would kind of have their role, and the person would be leading it. But essentially, the whole aspect of it is really just, we're all at that point, people have already gone through a year-long clairvoyant training. Some people have done energy healing, but essentially they're lifting the astral body out of the physical body. And it didn't necessarily mean that in that moment that person was having an out-of-body experience, like a conscious one, but they could experience kind of feeling a little floaty, or just noticing a shift while they pull that astral body out. Some people fall asleep. Some people just kind of just you can really place your attention anywhere. And during that process, they'll lift the astral body out a certain degree out of the physical, and they'll start doing healing work where the astral body will settle in the physical body, and then also do healing work to the astral body itself, the astral aura, the connection points. And this usually went on for about 45 minutes until they eventually brought it back down. And these healings were awesome. I mean, I love giving them, I love receiving them, because it always had this pretty cool effect on my dream space. But it doesn't only affect your ability to have an out of body experience, or just better sleep quality, or just your dreaming. Also, it affects in your waking life, because if you have this cleaned out astral body, and kind of where it settles in the skin, and that part's cleaned out, you get to have it more synced up in the physical body. So you actually feel more present, more permission for stillness. You feel more kind of wholesome, that wholesome quality, and you feel like you have more energy. So it's kind of dual purpose. It's helpful. I also noticed that it helps with intuition. You tend to experience more deja vu and just kind of heightened intuition, and they're pretty cool. It's probably my favorite style of healing. So
Yeah, I think that uh, that's also a good point of to put in a sort of a simple phrase of, I know a lot of people looking at the Facebook groups and stuff, all the different Facebook groups,
yeah,
they're always asking the one key question is, how do I astral project? But it's not a very simple answer. It's
right,
not one simple thing, do this, that, step one, two, three, and then it's done.
yeah,
Also, trying to achieve simply trying to achieve astral projection is almost like if you're just taking a vitamin, like vitamin A, instead of, which is fine if you need vitamins, because maybe you have a deficiency of vitamin D, right? But
Mhm.
the real point would be having a balanced diet, and
Right.
getting out in the sun.
Right.
That's the idea of, if you're gonna pursue astral projection, and I'm guilty of this myself, only wanting that one thing, but over this course of a decade, learning, and especially just recently, it's ramped a lot, especially with your exercises that we've been doing together.
Mhm.
Um, really learning that there's a whole host of benefits in your life during the daytime, your dream. You know, I used to have, uh, you know, uh, sleep paralysis and things like that, and now I
Mhm.
have dreams that are very healing, and you make this whole shift in your life. That's the thing you should be going for, not just the astral projection. The astral projection could be your goal and like your point of direction,
Mhm.
but really that journey, like people talk about, it's not just about climbing that mountain, it's about the journey getting there. And when
Right.
you actually get to the top, you're going to be much more of a stronger person, psychically. You're going to be psychically empowered. You're going to find maybe your own gifts
Mhm.
and just a whole host of things. Maybe you can talk about some of the secondary and tertiary things that come with that pursuit. Like, what have you found in your life from sort of your start of your journey till now?
Mhm.
That's, if for me, it'd be like this, going from like the sleep paralysis state and being afraid of things to, that's all gone now. That's all gone. I can't even have sleep paralysis if I wanted
Right.
to, to having like experiences with like angels and different things like that now. So it's a big transformation for me. So like, what is your sort of journey?
Yeah. I mean, when I got into spirituality, the first thing I want to do is have an out of body experience. Yet, funny looking back at it, I don't even think I knew what an out of body experience was. I just knew I wanted to have one. I don't even think I read a book about it, or, I think I was reading some stuff about Edgar Casey around that time period, but um, I wasn't reading any books specifically on out of body experiences. I never really talked about it with anybody. I really knew nothing about it. I was just like, oh yeah, I want to have this experience. Um, and I failed at it. And then that's when I started to go to this school and started this clairvoyant training. And
Okay, so one preceded the other.
correct. Yeah.
One,
Yeah.
cool. Yeah.
And what I realized was that I started to wake up to the fact of how out of my body I already was and disconnected from my purpose. And that was a huge wake up call. I was like, oh, wow. Okay. Like I'm trying to have this out of body experience. In fact, I'm already kind of already having it, to some degree. And
Can
that
you
was
identify why you were out of your, like, what the, do you want to talk about that? Like, were you having negative things that were, for me, I was like drinking too much and things like that. That was a whole bunch of negative
uh,
things going on in my life at that time.
yeah, you know, yeah, I just, before I left, I felt very lost, confused, depressed, kind of in my hometown, felt stuck, just in a lot of pain, and just really, I knew there was something more, something else for me. And I knew I had to leave my hometown. I just had no idea where I was going or what I was going to do. But I knew I had a shred of awareness, a speck of awareness that
Yeah.
basically said, we need to get the hell out of here. And there's something else for you. And I hang on to that little seed, and that's kind of really what kind of saved me.
Do you think it might have been like guides or something like that? Can you identify it at this point? Because I know for me,
Yeah.
I had so many experiences with guides, like literally saving my life. And
Mm.
I can identify clearly at this point. I know at this point what it was, and I've always wondered, but I know now. Do you know what it was for you?
Yeah. Yeah. I think it was two things. I think it was, and really they kind of go hand in hand, but yeah, some help with a spirit guide. There's that there. And also just at a crown chakra level, that chakra at the top of the head, the spiritual center, just literally having, because I felt very shut down, just things just just completely shut down. Little, again, I wasn't very much in my body, not a lot of energy in my body, but again, I had that little speck of awareness in the crown, that
Hmm.
just that knowing of, there is something more. Um, you'll find it when you leave, kind of thing. So it was kind of a higher intuition slash spirit guide help with that. Um, but I mean, I think the reason, for myself, and I think for a lot of people who don't feel really grounded or in their body, it's just because of certain life experiences that happen usually in childhood or like teenage years, something, for some people it could be traumatic. For some people it can be, just one simple event where there's just a lot of, judgment or invalidation, and it can cause you to this shutdown process where you just kind of, as a soul, start to withdraw yourself and your energy and just park it out of your body. And so when I found this clairvoyant training, it became this process, a reverse process of this kind of descent of, wait a second, so I'm not grounded, I'm not really in my body. Making that choice of, okay, I want to get back in. All my chakras are in my body. These are where my abilities are. If I want that, I need to get in my body. And um, yeah, it was challenging, because if you're working through all that, I was working through isolation, depression, just confusion, just a lot of that harsh kind of energy, that low dense energy. It's not always pleasant, kind of that going through that healing and growing process of just cleaning all that stuff out, working through unresolved memories, and bringing myself more back in my body and getting grounded and feeling safe. And that's kind of what I, did over the years. And it's, I enjoy having the balance of, not only being grounded and more present in my body and just the waking state, my day to day, but then also, over time, becoming more interested in the lucid dreaming, astral projection, and just having that balance of both. Um, but yeah, I mean, overall, like, just this whole journey, for me, the most fun thing is discovering, my own energy, who I am, and healing myself, but learning to trust the abilities that I have.
Hmm.
That's where it starts to get really fun, is when you can trust yourself and just start to get your own answers and information and work with it. And um, yeah, it's exciting. So
Yeah, that's one of the things I think I'm learning from the exercises we do together and the grounding more
hmm
recently.
yeah.
As I've told you personally when we're doing the sessions, I just don't know. I've connected with these, different things, maybe guides, maybe my higher self. I don't know. And I've been saved, multiple times and whatever. But learning and growing to be comfortable and then like confident in your
mm
own abilities and yourself. But one good point you were making that I really would like to touch on too is
hmm
the grounding. I
yeah.
think that just the a lot of people talk about it, just the simple pursuit of astral projection and metaphysical powers or whatever, and we all want to be superhuman. That can leave us very like out there. That can
Right.
be very third eye intensive without the grounding.
Yeah.
And uh, I was using the analogy of vitamins before and having a balanced nutrition. Before this, for the analogy that I think of with this, and with your grounding exercises, that is like a seed needing to, if you want to grow into a tree, needing to get those roots down deep in the soil in order to be able to grow high. And that's part of the astral projection and learning these skills.
mm
A lot of the people that I've met or read about or heard about, the people who have it the easiest with lucid dreaming or astral projection are actually the most scientific and the most grounded. The people like the computer programming software engineer, I met the guy, he, Nikola Tesla, like all these people throughout history, but currently, when I was driving for Uber for a little bit,
mm
I would lucid dream all the time, very clearly, and he'd come up with programs, computer programs in his lucid dreams.
mm
Didn't think of anything of it. When I was talking to him about it, I was like, wow, wow, this is amazing. And he's just like, yeah, it's just what I do. because he lives and breathes and has this very grounded, it's all he does all day. The rest of us, uh, we're worrying about things. We have so many things going on during the day. And if you start a dream journal, if you start remembering your dreams, you're going to notice the fact that all the crap that you had during the day, it's in your dreams now. But if you had one singular pursuit and you were completely grounded, that would be the thing that would carry over into your dream.
Right.
So it
Yeah.
wouldn't be have to be so magical and so so you know fantastical.
Right.
It could simply be inventing something or
Yeah.
whatever it is you want to do and pursue.
Yeah. 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 I mean, some of the stories I've heard just with the possibilities with lucid dreaming still kind of blow my mind to this day. What you can do with it. But yeah, I think grounding is huge. I think it's for everybody. I think some people are naturally more grounded. Some people are, it's challenging and they're, it's a process. And um, yeah, I think that's super important is learning to get safe because I mean, any ability, especially your higher abilities, you want to open up your clairaudience, your clairvoyance, your clair-knowing. And I think just getting safe with it, feeling comfortable and safe in your body before you start opening them up, because some of these can get really overwhelming. If
Yeah.
you open up, your clairaudience and suddenly you start hearing stuff, and sometimes you're going to hear, your spirit guides and angels. Then sometimes you hear some like random stuff that doesn't make sense or really resonate with you, and sometimes it can be a little off-putting. And just figuring out who am I listening to right now? It's kind of like the old radios. You're turning the dials and you're tuning into different things. And if you're safe, then it's easier to feel comfortable with whatever's coming through and just dealing with that. And same thing with mediumship. Um, a lot of people I've seen, they start turning mediumship on. And suddenly they're talking to they got deceased people, showing up and starting to, they want to have a conversation because they see that, oh wait, here's a person that's got this ability turned on. They, from their perspective, they say, because most people, these abilities are shut off. Most people can
Mhm.
feel energy, that spidey sense of, I'm feeling vibes. It's good, it's bad, or whatever it is. The higher abilities, for most people, it's turned off. For somebody, just as society, we don't really accept it, or there's a lack of education. And I think that's one reason that's great that we have this podcast for this. Um, but yeah, when from a soul perspective, someone that does not have a body currently, they see someone turning these higher abilities on, they say, ooh, here's someone to talk to that has a body.
Yeah.
And if that
Yeah.
person doesn't feel safe, then it gets a little weird of like, oh, okay, we got some dead people coming up to me. And people think you're going to be a little crazy when from my perspective it's all normal and natural. But again, if you feel safe and grounded, that makes that process a lot easier.
Yeah, if you recognize them, like if you look over and you see it and you're like, recognizing something that's not living, they
Yeah.
recognize you. They can recognize the fact that you're recognizing them.
Right.
And I've had that experience as those experiences myself. And uh, there's kind of an element of like what you're resonating with,
Mhm.
but it doesn't always have to be that way. One of the times recently that I projected, it was kind of a projection, kind of a lucid dream. Sometimes they bleed into each other, at least
Mhm.
with my rudimentary understanding right now. I don't quite have a high enough level of understanding to know, you know, uh, always know the difference.
Yeah.
Um, but I've I've seen entities in these experiences, and they've tried to come up to me or like grab me or something like that. But the difference between back then, and now was back then I was a lot more afraid. I'd have trouble going to sleep.
Mm.
That's one of the reasons I drank a lot, is because if you'd have some drinks, you'd fall right to sleep, and then you wouldn't hear anything or
Right.
whatever. But now I have the confidence that the last time some entity came up and tried to grab me, I just put my hand up and was like, "Go away." That was it. Just
Right.
like you would with a person.
Yeah.
If somebody came up and you're in New York City or something like that, and there's a lot of hustle and bustle of people, and somebody comes up to you, tries to talk to you, normally you try to be nice and you try to be friendly. But if you know how to assert yourself, you're like, "Hey, I don't know you. You're a stranger. Get
Yeah.
away."
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it's I think I've only had one experience, and I get your thing with the sometimes I think in the beginning it be challenging that differentiation of okay, lucid dream or out of body experience. And because I'll give you one example, this is how tricky dreams are. Because I had a dream. I think um, there was a YouTube channel and they're talking about like these having some sort of timer where you like put a headphones on like the one I'm wearing now, something light, and on occasion it will like make a beeping sound. It's not too loud, but loud enough to kind of wake you up. And the idea is it's kind of to wake you up, not jolt you awake, but so that you can kind of like keep your eyes closed, remain still, and potentially project. I was playing with that, but I ended up having a dream that night, and I wasn't conscious enough to really realize it. But like I was in a room, and it was definitely not my regular. I was living in an RV at the time. It didn't look anything like that. But I was having in the dream, I was having an experience of having an astral, out of body experience. I felt like I was projecting out of my body in this bed and floating up. And it wasn't until I actually woke up and I was like, oh my God, wait, that was just a dream. Um, and that really messed with me a little bit. I was like, wow, that like how powerful you can fall into the illusion of that actual dream. Um, so yeah, sometimes I think that being able to differentiate those two can be challenging. Uh, but you're talking about entities, and there was, I mean, in lucid dreams, I've talked to dream characters. Um, I don't think I've ever come across. Oh, that's probably a lie, but there was one experience where it was definitely more of an out of body experience at my parents' house, and I came across someone because for some reason, it just kind of came out of me. It was like, uh, "Hey, do you have a body?" I ran across this person that never met them in my life. It was definitely a human being of some sort, and um, I kind of got like the answer was yes, but like that was the first time it just popped out of me. It was just like, hey, do you have a body? And I got a response yes. And I mean, the dream I kind of ended pretty quickly after that. But that was the only time I've come across something where I was like, oh, I think I met somebody that has a body. I don't know who they are, where they live, or how they got there, and how we met. But that was my only kind of run in. Um, so
Yeah, I'll give just a bit of a detail about one specific
yeah.
experience that I've kind of meant, alluding to,
Mm-hmm.
and why it can be a little challenging. I'm sure if somebody's listening or watching has maybe had similar experience. Um, Laying in my bed, I woke up and actually felt myself separating. So the actual point of projection was there, the actual conscious projection. I mean, I woke up in the vibrational state and was able to relax myself. That's kind of the thing that's helpful to do.
Mm-hmm.
It can be. It's worked for me. I'm sure it's not perfect for everybody, but allowing the vibrations to actually kind of resonate in your body rather than trying to do something or get tense or afraid or whatever,
Yeah.
just allowing them to uh, get more intense, and then just rolling out as the vibrations are getting more intense. So I rolled out or popped out or whatever I did, and then pretty much lost the uh, feeling of the room and went right into a dream.
Wow.
But I was lucid, so it was like I was disconnecting from my body, and now I'm in a lucid dream. But I couldn't quite tell, am I in a lucid dream or am I in some sort of astral dimension? I don't know, because that's the part of being in experience is maybe I went into some sort of astral dimension that I don't know about because I
Right.
was just projecting. Or but maybe I lost some of my lucidity and I went into a lucid dream. Can't quite tell. But I do know that in that particular experience, I called upon like a few, maybe three or four different entities. I was looking for somebody that had passed on,
Mm.
and then that other entity came in, tried to grab me, and I said, "Wait a minute, you're not who I'm looking for." And then two or three other entities came in, and they were like cops, like astro cops or something like that, and they came and dragged the other one out, like, "Yeah, take her out of here." You know,
Get the get the
she's
imposter
not,
out.
yeah, she's the imposter. She's not supposed to be in my dream or in my whatever.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was basically the experience. There was a little bit more to it, some flying, and I flew up to a bridge and a few other like that. But those were the really like nice, interesting parts of the experience.
Interesting. Cool. Yeah, I mean, I'm look at some of this stuff clairvoyantly, and still something I'm kind of just kind of clairvoyantly researching myself with all this stuff because it's fascinating. It seems endless, really. Um, I always like it. Always when I look at it clairvoyantly, it always seems that the physical body can be in the lying in the bed or the couch or wherever, and it always seems like to some degree the astral body seems to pop out just a little bit of the physical body during sleep.
Hmm.
And it seems like it's different for everybody because sometimes I've read people, and for some people it's just like literally just slightly above the physical body, like just a
Yeah.
little bit. And then some people, they're floating up at the ceiling. um, and sometimes like, you can almost seems to be a difference between when people are in non-REM and REM. In REM it seems like, well, they are again some degree out of their body, and it seems like this dream picture is just out in front of their astral body face, and it's like they're in this they're in their little dream world, whatever they're experiencing. And then sometimes I've seen people in non-REM, and literally they're just it's interesting to watch their astral body, but literally they're just floating like throughout their house. Sometimes like they might be floating through walls, and um just they're unconscious, but it's just floating through the walls or doing interesting things. um and so that's some of the stuff that I've seen.
Can you talk a little bit about like, so I mean, you are having these experiences obviously through, you've done your training and you've
Yeah.
continued with your work, but explain a little more clearly just for people, listening or watching, how exactly are you seeing it? Are you seeing it with your mind's eye? Are you seeing it through your eyelids? Like how are you, picking up these visions, and what are they visions of? Are they visions of you? Are they visions of other people?
I
Give
see.
more detail of.
Yeah. um yeah, so clairvoyance, it's a six chakra ability. It's the ability. Clairvoyance translates to clear seeing, so it's your ability to see yourself, others, the world clearly and as it is, just without judgment. And it's also on another level your ability to see colors, symbols, and images. um, so essentially when I teach people, first thing, get grounded, get safe, get connected with the earth. Essentially it's essentially your relationship with the earth, and having roots, so to speak. And then finding kind of that center of the head space, related to the pineal gland, and holding your awareness there and looking out in front of you. And I essentially see images. Um, I when I first went to the school, that's when the clairvoyance was all turning on. So my sixth chakra was turning, opening up, and doing the healing all to that throughout that year and years after. But yeah, essentially it's like it's as if someone was holding a Kodak picture literally just out in front of my face, roughly 6 to 10 inches from your face.
Picture or TV screen? Is it static or is it moving?
Still pictures.
Pictures? Okay.
Yeah, still images. That's clairvoyance. When you do clairvoyance, it's all about still pictures. um, but clairvoyance and dreaming seem to be pretty related, because if when you're falling asleep in that hypnagogic state, or you're waking up in that hypnopompic state, you can see images, and they can be super vivid, super clear. um, and essentially they can almost looks like moving. Looks like you're watching a movie. So it
That,
looks. Yeah.
yeah, that just I was doing the grounding exercise myself. We didn't
Yeah.
get a chance to talk about this yet, actually, but I actually was getting some of that. I
uh,
actually got a super clear image the other day. I was doing an exercise 2 days in a row, two
mm,
days in a row, and I saw like this water motion and stuff. It was just one image, like a GIF or a GIF, whatever.
yeah.
It wasn't a storyline. It wasn't whatever. It was just water going over this spout, and it was some sort of filtering mechanism. And I was trying to be non-judgmental about it
Mhm.
because I knew if I made up a story about it, it wouldn't have as much of a clear meaning. It was so simple. It was just a filtering mechanism that water ran over, and some things floated on top of the water and went over the chute. You
Mm.
know, the water went down, but other things that floated on top of it went over the chute.
Mm.
So, and that's from doing your exercise. Pretty cool.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah. It's, part of this process is just getting grounded and safe. Your six chakras in the body, getting it opened up, cleaned off. Um, and usually people will start to see colors. That's usually a starter point. Um, and one indicator could be you could just close your eyes, and most people see black usually. That's what I saw most of my life, and well, still do. It's just usually when I close my eyes, pretty quickly all the colors start coming in.
Hmm.
But if you close your eyes and then you start seeing, clouds of, a certain color coming in and fading out, and sometimes it's multiple colors, then your clairvoyance is turning on. Um, but yeah, I mean, essentially, you can see symbols and images, and that could be a whole process just getting to that point. And then um, having it more consistent. And then the last main thing is being able to understand what you're looking at. So essentially, without judging anything, being able to read the energy of it. If everything's energy, you can read the energy of a picture. Picture, they say is worth 1,000 words, and there's a truth to that. There's a bunch of information you can pull from it and get some information. So that's
So
yeah.
where were the images that you were getting for the astral projections, the ones that we were just talking about? Where were you getting those images from?
So a lot of those, I think this is when I just started getting on the road, and that's when I was really diving deep into lucid dreaming and astral projection. And I was doing readings for people, and um, I just did a lot of readings, and that's where I got a lot of information about this. And just I got to
Cool.
see different people and kind of what it was looking like, and that's how I noticed some differences in the REM state or the non-REM state, and um, even just where people go, beyond, just a dream state, or just, unconsciously floating around walls in their their apartment or their house. Some, people will go on these journeys on different levels of the astral and just have really no idea that they're doing this. Um, even just recently, like I've seen people who aren't really fully aware of this. It's kind of like you're living a double life. You got this waking state life, and then you got this astral life, so to speak. And some people are really gifted, and they just have no idea, and they're just starting to wake up to it. But some people actually, they'll help people, or they'll help people that have passed over, people that have died, who are, maybe are operating at a certain level of the astral, and it might be time for them to move on to their next step, whatever that is. Everyone's next step can be, look very different. Um, so some of these people will actually, while they're asleep, their body's asleep at least, they're going out and helping some of these souls, without bodies, take their next step, wherever that is. Maybe a higher level of the astral, or getting ready for their next incarnation. Whatever it is, who knows? So a lot of interesting. But people will go and take classes, while they're sleeping. People do. I've seen people do healing work on other people while they're sleeping. So there's a lot of things that are very meaningful, and there's great purpose, and then some things are just kind of. I've seen people go to astral bars. They hit up the pub, and it's really just about the way. It's no different than you want to hit up a pub and just hang out with your friends, have a good time, have a laugh, blow some steam off. And it's kind of a similar thing. It's going to, some club or some pub on the astral, and just, it's about connecting with other souls there. So yeah, I've seen a lot of interesting things. So,
And when you're reading people,
yeah.
are they like in a trance state? What are you how are you interacting with people? Do people fall asleep? Or what are you doing, the exercises, the grounding thing that you do with me, or how does the reading go?
Yeah. So I mean, like a reading with somebody, I'm grounded. My eyes are closed. I'm in a trance state. Um,
Okay.
and when I mean trance state, I think some people take that as I'm going out of my body. And trance can mean that, but it doesn't always mean going out of the body. So I enter a certain trance state where I'm tuning some lower chakras down. I'm kind of pulling away from ego, away from judgment and competition and effort and just resistance, and just finding neutrality, finding that still point within myself so I can open myself up to see the spirit of the person I'm reading. And that's when the images come and I describe it to them and read the energy of it, and they can kind of interpret it for, what they want. Um, yeah, that's kind of how they're just simply just eyes open, conscious, just listening, being present as
Okay.
possible. Maybe they take notes, maybe they don't. Yeah.
Do you think that might be similar to like going into an alpha state? Like, have you got into the different brainwave states, like alpha, theta?
Yeah. I
If not, then it doesn't matter. But that's something I've been like kind of looking into is, the alpha state of meditation, beta state being awake, theta state being deep relaxation, delta state being completely knocked out, and then
yeah.
gamma state being at a super consciousness.
Yeah. I mess around with binaural beats in certain tones for just to practice putting my body to sleep or going to deep meditations. The ones that I mess with the most would be theta and delta. I'm not too familiar with the other ones, at least like having that frequency, in my ears.
Hmm.
But theta and delta, um, and I find them super helpful. Just being able to um, get relaxed, and then my going into a super light paralysis, um, and just begin that process of putting the body to sleep. Um, and when I first started, I would fall asleep almost every time. I
Oh,
mean,
doing the binaural beats.
yeah, like doing theta and especially delta, I would go right to sleep. It took me a while just to stay conscious, uh,
Hmm.
and but I like that feeling. Um, I like that feeling of my body kind of slowly, you know, seems like it's kind of like fading away, so to speak, and you're just kind of
Right.
just there
Yeah.
in the center of the head, just kind of just trying to, get the monkey mind kind of tuned down and off, and just kind of just you're just there. So
That's one of the things um, that I'm able to be a lot more aware of now that I've gotten better at meditation is your body and your mind just going into like a little bit of a shift. Like you're when you feel awake because like yeah, like the monkey mind is going, and then all of a sudden this moment hits at where you can feel like almost like a sinking feeling or like just a dramatic difference in relaxation. There's a lot of like different ways to interpret it,
yeah,
but it's just a simple shift from I'm fully awake and kind of like annoyed at whatever, and now I'm completely relaxed, and
yeah,
I'm feeling more things. I'm picking up on more things. The dream images might slowly be, working their ways in. Yeah.
yeah. I've had all sorts of experiences with it. In general, I like it. Um, and there's been times where I get relaxed physically, and then there's times where mentally it's just it will not turn off. And I mean, it's just like just chatter, just like it's just almost like even louder, and it's almost
Yeah.
like more of a nuisance where I'm just like, oh my god, this is like overwhelming. So there's been times I've had to abort just because of that, and then there's times where body's physically relaxed, like it's just the lightest of light, paralysis, kind of just usually it's like the arms and the legs seem to go the first for me, just kind of a light tingly kind of fading feeling. And then that monkey mind is, that's out of the question, and it's just kind of just minimal thoughts, um, and periods of no thoughts, of just being in the center of the head and just kind of resting there. um, and that's really pleasant, just being.
Yeah.
But I mean, getting over the freaking all the chatter. That just seems like when I start getting the body, um, super relaxed. It's just sometimes it's just amplified, and being able to have to tune that down. I've discovered some other things recently to how to tune it down more, um, which is nice. But that's all. I think that's a lot. That's a big challenge with meditation. I think for a lot of people is they go to close their eyes. It's like the immediate resistance, same resistance you face when you decide you're going to go work out in the gym. I mean, it's really the same thing. Um, but then all of the chatter, the just racing, you know what I mean? The hamster in the wheel just goes over and over and just never ending. Just the bill or this person or that situation or that thing from 10 years ago and all this, and just getting that all just tuned down. And then that's the fun part. If people can get past that, then I think a lot more people would want to meditate. Then they'd be like, okay, this is the good stuff. This actually feels like a drug. It's actually better than a drug, because you don't wake up the next morning hungover and feeling like crap.
Yeah.
So yeah.
One of the things that I found a lot, um, after I got past the monkey mind thing, the
Yeah.
monkey mind phase, and was able to meditate, trying to relax my body to get the mind awake, body asleep state.
Mm-hmm.
I've tried that so many times, and I think it's the same thing. There's like monkey mind and monkey body, because if you try to quiet your body, try one leg at a time, do all this stuff like relaxation, all of a sudden you'll get the itch, or you'll get you have to turn over, or
Mm.
whatever it is. The more you quiet yourself down, the more you need to swallow, or the
Yeah.
more something happens.
Uh,
So I have a couple of like two, two fixes, two suggestions that I've sort of been learning.
mm,
One is the monkey mind thing. For me, I'm kind of past that at this point,
mm,
and I think I can give a good example of that is if you were in a crowded city or a crowded room or whatever, we'll just say a party,
mm,
right? If you're in a party and you're trying to have yourself a good time, maybe you're trying to talk to somebody who you find interesting, and think of this party as this is you.
mm, mm.
This is your brain. It's not, these people are not outside of you, they're in your brain. And everybody, the loud person, the quiet person, the drunk person, and maybe off in the corner there's some guy that's literally just not talking and meditating, but they're all there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're just sitting on a couch with somebody trying to have a relaxed conversation, because that's what you're doing when you're meditating. You're trying to like just settle down. But somewhere else in the room, there's this one loud drunk person, and that's the only person you can hear.
Yeah.
That's your monkey mind.
Yeah.
Now, instead of running away from that, instead of like, it becomes a part of your mind, like, oh, I can't believe this person. You'll create your own chatter of
Mm-hmm.
like, that person's annoying. So if there's stuff going on in your head about bills and whatever, and all the chaos of your day, you trying to quiet yourself down is just one more voice. Oh, quiet, be quiet, be quiet, be quiet. Instead of doing that, just listen. Just, like, okay, um, what if I just listened to the voice for a second? What if I just listened to that person going on and on and on? And what if I just gave in? That annoying song. What if I liked that annoying song on the radio?
Mm.
And the more you do that, the more you don't care about that person talking. It's the energy that you put into caring about your monkey mind that amplifies it. When you just let it go and just you give it, you listen to it. Okay, I got some bills. Great, wonderful.
Yeah.
The more it'll fade into the background, the more you just won't care. about that chattering brain. It'll never go away
Right.
until you're like there's a high level of advanced meditation that most people won't get to, and that's fine. You don't need to. You just need the basic level. The basic level is that you're sitting back like on a bench in a park bench while all these uh, thoughts are still running in your mind. They'll never stop. You just stop caring. And the second one is the monkey body. I've been getting a little better at this, not
Mhm.
perfect, but instead of just laying on my back, which is the position we all want to be in, and like this is the meditative position or this is whatever,
Yeah.
and I need to relax my body so I can get out, or, you know, I gave up on that too. I just picked the position that was the most comfortable with me. Maybe that's laying on your side. Most of my projections have been laying on my side
Yeah.
or laying on my stomach. I'll lay on my stomach. Who cares? I might do some meditations on my back, but then I'll just naturally, whenever I'm uncomfortable and I want to roll over, I roll over. I get
Mhm.
ready for bed and I lay on my stomach. But that doesn't mean I'm done. That doesn't mean I just give in to the sleep. Now I'm going into visualization. Now there's images in my mind. Now I'm putting my awareness into my third eye, like you've been teaching me and talking about uh, what's going on there. And I just relax, just like that monkey mind. The If it's just black, I'm comfortable with the blackness. If dream
Mhm.
images are coming in, I just get comfortable with that.
Right.
And it's been working a lot. I'm no longer getting uncomfortable and I no longer fight it. I'm just going with it, and
Right.
it's helped.
Good. Yeah. Yeah. About the monkey mind thing. Um, when you were explaining it, it was kind of like it's like letting a friend like be like, all right, you got 5 minutes, go ahead and start ranting.
Yeah,
You know, it's just like go, and I'm counting.
yeah. I had my bad day today, and you got to hear about it.
Right, right.
Yeah,
But that whole picture that you kind of like painted, you know, with you being in a room and with a party with all these versions of yourself and the drunk person being the loudest, the monkey mind, it almost seemed like almost like a lucid dream. Like it almost
yeah,
seems like that could be a really cool lucid dream where you're like in a
yeah,
party and it's like, you know, usually these are projections of you, but being able to like, hey, where's the monkey mind? Let's go talk to that one and give it some love or something, you know.
yeah. But that's part of the, like the dream yoga thing. If
Right,
in the daytime reality, you'll find that if you get annoyed at somebody, it's like that's all you see. But if
right,
you just, it's happened to me just recently. Somebody's talking about politics, and normally I get triggered inside and I get annoyed.
yeah,
And I was just like, yeah, go ahead. Just like you're saying, just 5 minutes. I don't care. Just
right.
and all of a sudden I wasn't getting triggered, and they stopped. They said, you don't want to hear about this, and they stopped
Like, you must be
because I
psychic. You're right.
seriously
Yeah,
because I was no longer getting triggered because they no longer got that attention that they wanted from me. They wanted me to be like, oh,
resist.
upset, like, oh, stop talking about that.
Yeah, I mean that's a whole other thing. Yeah. I mean, once you resist, then you know usually you'll get left alone because you're just letting all the energy fly right through you. You're neutral, and then the person doesn't see you. They're not getting a rise out of you. It's like the whole bully thing. It's like if you were neutral, it's like, oh, this is not fun. Let me go find somebody that's is going to react.
Right.
So
That's that's literally the thing that I found about my monkey mind. When I stopped resisting, when I stopped getting pissed off because I my mind was chattering, I just gave up. I said, okay, keep talking. Don't
right,
care.
yep, that's awesome. And then you mentioned the monkey body type thing. And
Yeah.
God,
You get the itches and the swallows and
yeah. I mean, when I first started doing it, like for me, lucid dreaming came easier than the astral projection stuff. And they're both, I'm still working on both of them. But, um, for me with the lucid dreaming, the journaling and the reality checks is what really helped. And with the astral projection stuff, I would, in the RV, um, usually when I had some free time during the day, I would just take a certain amount of time and just listen to binaural beats and just be like, okay, I'm going to take the time and just work on putting my body to sleep. And yeah, I mean, sometimes I would literally be in bed for like 2 hours and I'd be in light paralysis. And yeah, that weird uh, itches, or like it's almost, it feels like, if you walk through cobwebs and it like lightly just kind of tickles you,
Mhm.
that I can usually ignore. I mean, it's annoying for sure. My biggest hurdle was for a long time, and can still be sometimes, as long as I like I found that if I prop my body up a little bit, um, my saliva will just kind of roll down and I won't notice it really as much. Um, but that's where I would get hung up. I'd have this sense or this feeling of I need to swallow because it's just all building up, and wouldn't ruin the experience, but I feel like it would set me back a little bit. And then I'd be like,
Mhm.
oh God, okay, now I need to get a little back to where I was, and then I can move forward. And um, yeah, keeping the body still for that long, that could be challenging.
But
Um,
how far did you actually go with it? You said you did it for 2 hours. How far did you actually get to, or how close?
yeah. Um, how can I describe this? So, like, have I reached the full paralysis, where it's all completely shut off, like the way I experienced it spontaneously when I was in my 20s? I
Hmm.
haven't got to that, like fully, like in a conscious way. With that, I would get to like a light paralysis, and again, usually it's the arms and legs that go the first.
Hmm.
Um, and then there's a guy that really on his channel is, I think, phase evolution. He talks
Yeah,
about it, and it's this
I was thinking
weird.
about this with the neck thing. Yeah, I was thinking about him.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, it took me a while to prop myself up, and then he talk about this, how like it rises from your feet all the way up to your head, and I was experiencing it the same way. Like it would this like paralysis or energy would start moving up to my chest, and when it would hit my chest, I mean, my heart would race. I mean, race like I was about to have a panic attack kind of thing.
Hmm.
And I got stuck there for a little while. And then I finally got comfortable with, okay, the heart's racing, and then it's just, okay, then it calms down. And then my throat, that was a big problem for a while. And then sometimes I would get to the point where it felt like this, I don't know, like a vertigo kind of feel. I don't know. It's this weird feeling of like a weird head rush kind of feeling. And I would get that when it would kind of pass up to my head. I, mean, I in general would have problems from here. Like once it hits here, I'd have a lot of problems.
Hmm.
But if it managed to get past that, which it didn't get to a lot of times, I would feel this weird kind of head rush. Like I felt like my was spinning backwards or something. It's very hard to explain. Um, and that's kind of as far as I would get. I would never. Could I look clairvoyantly out in front of me during that whole experience? Yeah, but I purposely would not try to look clairvoyantly. Like I would try to allow it, just like in the hypnagogic state or hypnopompic state, it just naturally comes. I
Hmm.
would I would try to allow that, and I would never get to the point where it would naturally come. So that was as far as I got. But just by practicing that day in and day out, then I would actually start to have spontaneous experiences of vibrational state, and
Cool.
that was weird. So,
If
so
what what would happen to me sometimes, uh, one times in particular, when doing that exact same thing, right? Trying to relax the body, doing the whole same thing, watching the phase evolution guy. I hope we can. That'd be really cool if we get to talk to him sometime.
yeah, yeah.
Uh, I got to a point of where, for some reason, I wanted to keep my hands above my head when I was. It was just relaxing to do that when I was doing my whole body,
Yeah.
and my arms started to come out, and my arms went from, okay, I'm laying on the bed, and now my astral arms are above my body. So now
Ah.
I know they're out because I know I can feel both. Like if I'm aware of the fact that my arms are still on the bed,
Mm,
but I can feel my astral arms like reaching up to the sky,
mm,
which you want to try to reach in for the rope technique,
right.
Uh, but my right arm, or what, I forget, it was my right. I think it was my left arm maybe, started to hurt a little bit. My astral arm, I'm like, And then that's the only thing I could focus on. Why is my astral arm hurting? It's not real.
Ah,
Why is it hurting? And it started to feel like a balloon, or you know, uh, like somebody had put a belt on it, and it was just gaining all this pressure, like when you get your blood pressure done and they squeeze on it.
oh yeah,
It was just this intense pressure, and then all of a sudden it was intense pain. I'm like, how long am I going to possibly lay here with this intense pain? I'm gonna try to do it, but all my focus is going into that pain, and I
right.
couldn't stop. I couldn't stop focusing on it. It was so painful.
Interesting.
And yeah, I tried and I tried and I tried, but it wouldn't. My brain wouldn't go away from the pain of my astral arm, which is so weird.
Right. Yeah, that's a weird feeling though, because you have dual awareness of your body and your astral body.
Yeah.
Um, there was one time where was I essentially woke up in hypnopompic state, and I was looked felt like I was about to go into a lucid dream. That seemed like the images was moving, it was evolving, and it felt like I was going to get sucked right into it and just be in the dream. And I had this intuition of, oh, you should just roll out of your body, because I was always more interested in the out of body experience than the lucid dream. But I mean, I enjoy both. But and I went to roll out, and like you, I was literally, I felt like I was halfway out of my body, and I was like, well, this is awkward. like I usually I just thought you just rolled out and that was it. I didn't realize you get stuck halfway out, and then I had to roll out again, and I made it all the way out. But that was just I won't go too into that deep in that experience, but it was just kind of like one of those you feel like a drunk person that's blind walking around.
Mhm.
That was kind of
Yeah.
the aftermath of that experience. Um, um, so we talked about our first out of body experiences. Do you remember your first lucid dream?
Uh, I would recommend to people to a really good book to read about lucid dreaming would be the Field Guide to Lucid Dreaming.
Mm-hmm.
And in that book, they describe the different levels, and obviously they're just putting a name to it. It's not like there's really, different levels. It's just what can you can identify as different higher levels of lucidity.
Mm-hmm.
So to answer that question, I remember because of we've had these different conversations, you, me, and some other people.
Yeah.
Um, Now I can remember when I was younger having hundreds of lucid dreams, but they were lucid dreams of like I'm in a nightmare, and now I'm jumping around like a samurai or doing things to get out of the nightmare at a very low level of awareness. I'm aware that I can do this stuff. I'm aware that I can manipulate the dream. I'm no longer being a victim of the dream. I'm controlling it.
Right.
But I'm not at such a level that I'm like um, interacting with the dream on other higher levels, we'll say. I'm
Mm-hmm.
still kind of like part of this game. I'm still part of the TV show, not
Mm-hmm.
outside of it yet. So I think I can identify when I was doing all these exercises to consciously become aware in lucid dreaming. I've had a number of experiences, but I can say maybe the first time that I interacted with the dream in a very meaningful way that was a little bit higher. I think
Mm-hmm.
in that book they describe four states.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like in the dream yoga book they talk about different higher states too.
Yeah.
So when you get past the point of like, doing the jumping and flying and things like that, and you can kind of really stand there and be like, wait a minute, what can I really do with this dream?
Right.
You're actually consciously thinking about it. You can actually ask the dream a question, which I did because they talked about it in the book. So I saw a dream character. It actually happened to be my father in the dream. It was weird. I don't normally have him as a dream character, but maybe he symbolized something. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, hey, what do you think? What should I know right now? Why don't you tell me something that I should probably know? And gave me a dream message. It was just my message. It's not going to really help anybody else, but
Yeah.
he gave me a clear message of you should try doing this at this point in your life. And it was the first time that I'm like clearly talking to a part of my own psyche, a clearly talking to part of my subconscious. Because I've had other lucid dreams where I've talked to guides and things like that. We have plenty of other episodes to talk about all these other experiences.
Yeah.
Uh, but that one experience where I clearly spoke to my own subconscious,
Mm.
that was a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, I don't think I've had. Yeah, I've interacted with dream characters, but most of them. It's always fun when you try to tell them that, hey, this is a dream, like,
Oh yeah,
woohoo.
they don't like that. They don't like
Like,
that at all.
I mean, my wife was in the dream, and I was like, hey, we are dreaming. This is totally a dream. Like, I was excited about it. And I mean, she just started crying in the dream, and just
They hate that.
I was like, oh man, this is not good.
Yeah. Don't do it. Yeah. To anybody listen, don't do that. Don't
Yeah.
tell somebody. It's like walking around in real life being like, hey, this isn't real, right?
Yeah. By the way,
No,
this is all illusion.
this
Have
is
a good
all
day.
an illusion. Yeah. Have a good day. Don't
Yeah.
lose his mind.
Right. Yeah. I stopped doing that. I learned that quick. I was like, okay, this isn't productive.
Did you apologize to your wife in real life?
And I should have maybe. Huh?
All right, honey.
Right. Um, yeah. Most of my experiences with dream characters, they made from that experience, and then usually I don't get really, um, you know, it's not a lot of intelligent responses. You know what I mean? That's been my
Yeah.
experience. I haven't. There was only one time where I was about to meet a guide, and once I learned the person's name, then the dream ended, and I was like, "Oh no! Like, what do you mean?" I was like, "I just learned your name. I thought we were gonna have a conversation," and I popped out. Um,
We've talked about this though, that
yeah,
like sometimes that's a good thing because you forget. The last lucid dream I had, in the middle of it, I said, hey, I should probably wake myself up right now because I'm going to forget this. It was for me, I don't have a long ones very often at all, actually. And this
yeah,
just happened to be a very long one. I was like, I should probably wake up.
yeah. I mean, I'll often, yeah, my lucid dreams are pretty short, and um, yeah, I mean, a lot of the times I'll even in the middle of it be like, oh man, I'm not going to remember this. And
Yeah.
I usually do remember most of it, but um, I mean, it's amazing. Just I've had lucid dreams, and if I usually write it down immediately. And there's been times where I just got lazy and didn't write it down. And I woke up in the middle, like in the morning, and just completely forgot. And it took me, an hour or two later or whatever. And I was like, oh, wait, I had a lucid dream. I was able to recall it, but I was like, wow, it's that easy to just forget, even
Right.
when you were conscious. That's crazy to me. Um, so yeah, I mean, going back to I personally don't have kind of like the experiences or recollection from like you kind of, I don't recall lucid dreaming or out of body experiences as a child. Um, my first one was actually, I can remember, was 17 or 18. I was living with my parents, and I mean, I was unconscious, then became conscious, and it was just pure darkness. I mean, there was just pure black.
Hmm.
And I just immediately knew I was dreaming. And then I was just like, oh, I guess I can do whatever I want. And at that time, I was really into the band Rammstein. It was like a German metal band.
Yeah, I know them. Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, you know what? I'd like to see Rammstein in concert. And then I just literally just saw this concert appear like out in front of me, and there's just it just manifested right there. I was like, wow, that's amazing. And then boom, I woke up. It was super short. The strange thing is, I didn't like think anything of it. I just thought it was like, oh, that was a cool experience. But like even like around that age, I wasn't inclined to like research it for some reason. And I'm huge in the research. So I'm surprised when I look back and be like, why did that not trigger anything for me to dive into that? I also had nobody around me to, I never even knew about lucid dreaming then. Had no idea about it. But yeah, that was I think the first one that I can remember. Um, the one when I actually started practicing, that's when it got more interesting. That was um, like when I was traveling on the road in the RV, and it took me, I would say, a month or longer. It could have been up to 2 months of doing dream journaling and reality checks. I can't remember how long. It could have been 1 to 2 months maybe. And then I was having this dream where essentially you have one of those experiences where you see something and you look away and look back and it all changes.
Mm-hmm.
I had that, and that's when I was like, oh my God, I'm dreaming. And then I started to look at like my dream, arms, and I could see like part of my dream leg. And my first instinct was to just go explore the dream world. I was like, oh, I'll go somewhere where I haven't been yet in the dream. And I had this voice behind me kind of boom out. It said hello, or called my name. I can't remember. And I was kind of annoyed by this. And I look around and there's nothing there. And the only thing that I found was there's this owl. There's this big bird in the tree. And I was like, maybe the bird was talking to me. And I used my mind to pull the bird out of the tree. I just like almost like this telekinesis to pull the bird out of the tree, and I had it out in front of me. And I think just pulling it out of the tree with my mind in the dream, I think that popped me out.
Mm.
And that's very common for me. Where if I do something that seems kind of fantastical, then it just starts to fade. You know what I mean? So that's kind of where I'm trying to work, is get to a point where I could just stop and just be totally still and just calm everything down and just nothing, and then go and proceed forward with like whatever the true intention is. But yeah, those are my like first two, I would say.
Well, I wanted to make a point
Yeah.
about getting back to something I think we were both kind of mentioning this, of like the idea of going through the journey of your whole life.
Mm.
But then I also have one little small tip. In the first episode, we talked about um, doing reality checks.
Yeah.
But I got a tip about that too.
Mm-hmm.
But I know all of us, me included, obviously, we get frustrated at wanting to do these exercises and wanting to have these abilities. But if you don't go through the process of, working through those emotional blockages, or those things inside of you, that monkey mind, that part of you that gets triggered,
Mm-hmm.
that part of you that wants to like swerve in traffic and go Mad Max. We all think about crazy things like that.
Mm-hmm.
We're not always aware of how powerful we are in our intentions until you're in a dream and you can completely do whatever you want in a dream. We think that in reality that same thing doesn't apply, but it does. It just applies in a macroscopic scale rather than a microscopic, like subjective scale.
Yeah.
Our thoughts, our feelings do and can affect reality in a very substantial way. And I've got plenty and plenty of stories about it, but we have another day maybe.
Oh yeah.
But I wouldn't be too quick to want to have those superpower experiences, because if you could just think of anything and make it happen, a lot of stuff would get destroyed. It'd be very unstable and very chaotic, because very few of us on Earth have the capability to stabilize our minds all the time.
Right.
High yogic masters working 30, 40 years, lifetimes, multiple lifetimes, still have trouble controlling the thoughts. And that goes into the tip that I have, to people about doing a reality check.
Mm.
So putting trying to stick your finger through your hand or pinch your nose and trying to breathe through it. Great reality checks. They absolutely are. Part of this idea of doing a reality check is not just to physically do it. That's fine to train yourself, but you're also training your mind. You're training your mental self to recognize things. So let's just say you're driving down the highway. If you can start to recognize at what point your brain starts to fade away, you turn into autopilot. You know how you get into the driveway and you forgot how you got there?
Oh yeah.
Throughout the day, bring your mind back and say, wait a minute, how long have I literally not been thinking? Somebody's been talking to me and I'm just off in my own world,
Right.
you know? I'm driving and I'm thinking about what I'm going to do later on today, and I'm not even thinking about the car in front of me.
Right.
That's the exact same as dreaming. And that's the same thing as losing lucidity in a lucid dream. If you lose lucidity during the day, you're going to lose lucidity in a dream. Happens to me all the time,
Right.
Happens to me every time. I've got these really short lucid dream experiences,
Hmm.
but it's really helped me to learn how to focus. And uh, you could do those exercises, just kind of bring your mind back, but you can also maybe do something more helpful or more productive, like get an audiobook or something on Spotify or something to focus on. Obviously, you need to focus on the road too, but that's obviously important. But if you have an audiobook like the Field Guide to Lucid Dreaming, that's actually an audiobook. Um, if you can realize when you lose awareness because you won't even hear them talking on the audiobook. That's a good little exercise about trying to keep awareness and lucidity and how much can you focus on something. There is it is possible to have dual consciousness and dual focus.
Hmm.
Multitasking is kind of like a myth. We can't like do two things at once, but your mind can focus. That's why you can drive on autopilot, because you're focusing on two different things.
Right. That's a great example. Where are you? Where's your attention?
Yeah, you talk about that all the time in your meditations. Where's your attention right now?
Right. And you gave the classic example. I think the two classic examples, just you said the car, like your body's driving and sometimes your mind is just somewhere else.
Hmm.
Same thing with school. Like for me, school was just horrifically boring. So my body was in the seat, in the chair, in the desk. My mind was, I was drifting off, looking out the window and spacing out, essentially.
Hmm.
Um, so I want to kind of take with what you said and um, I guess for my personal tip here, I think it's kind of fun, kind of having these tips at the end, helpful for people. But
Yeah, takeaway. We're gonna have a takeaway at the
right,
end.
right, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, just like building off of what you said is just in the middle of the day, where are you? Where's your attention? And bringing it back, you know, to your body, to the center of your head, so to speak. But especially doing that and before you actually do the reality check, because you can do mindless reality checks, just kind of oh yeah, am I dreaming, and you're off to the next thing.
Hmm.
But if you really stop and you take a moment and just have the intention of grounding yourself, just collecting up your energy and your awareness, hey, where the hell am I right now, what's going on, and bringing it back to the center of your head and just trying to get as present and still as possible, and then do the energy, or then do the reality check. Then once you found yourself to be present, then ask yourself, hey, am I dreaming? And then perform the actual, whether it's the finger through the palm or jumping or the nose trick.
Yeah, maybe not while driving.
No, not
Maybe-
while driving, no. Yeah. Yeah.
And staring at your hands too. That was the
Yeah,
Juan Castanado or that book, whatever. I didn't read it yet, but they talk about that. Carlos Castanado.
yeah, and that's how Robert Wagner he read that, and that's he would I think for 5 minutes or however long before he went to sleep when he was a kid, stare at his hands and just tonight I will see my hands in my dreams and I will know that I'm dreaming, and just literally he repeated that to himself over and over until he fell asleep. Um, yeah, I mean I've done that sometimes. That hasn't been successful for me, but I also haven't spent a lot of time with it. So, but I think different things work for different people. So,
Yeah, but being present, that's a great tip. Being actually present, being calm, centered, and in your body, almost like a meditative state, whatever you're able to get to. Yeah. Instead of just mindlessly doing it.
right. Yeah, I mean that's a lot of like I don't know the guy's name. I know he's into like Tibetan Buddhism. I think he's written a book and he's all about lucid dreaming, meditation, but his main thing is just literally just he doesn't even I don't even think he talks about reality checks. Maybe he does and I'm just not aware of it, but his main thing is just kind of what you're saying. It's just literally just stop and just notice, bring your awareness, and center it, and just become present and just start to, notice everything around you. And so I think like what you're saying is it's, if you can have lucidity during the day, that can translate overnight. And if there's
Yeah.
not, then you might just slip into that illusion and be unconscious. So,
Yeah, and the monkey mind thing, what notice like that chatter in your brain, you can when maybe not when you're meditating, try this, you could try it when you're just going about your day. You can stop that chatter. It's pretty simple. All you have to do is recognize the chatter. You're you're walking around, you're in the grocery store, whatever you're doing, the chatter's going on, you're talking about whatever to yourself. If you just stop and say, wait a minute, okay, just for 2 seconds, stop, okay, and it'll stop because you're literally talking to yourself. It's not like coming from nowhere.
right.
Yeah,
With that, yeah. And that's yeah, the monkey mind thing, that's a huge hurdle. And but when I teach, about like halfway through a training that I teach, I have students. Um, it's challenging. It's not easy. This is not something that's like beginner level, but it's something that you could, learn about and then work towards it. But it's really powerful that I found. It's for me, it's been the most effective thing where the power of visualization, so that if you visualize something, especially a positive mental image picture, then whatever the energy you're looking at in that image, you start to light that same energy up in yourself.
yeah,
So
yeah,
if you can visualize an image out in front of you and hold it, an image of you having a clear mind, and just hold it, and you can literally just have moments of just there's just no thoughts rolling through your mind, and it's awesome. And so that's something I'd recommend people trying out and working with. Just hold out an image, a positive mental image picture of you having a clear mind. And that can look, there's no wrong way to visualize it. That's whatever, how you want to make it look like. And just holding it and just starting to notice what happens to your own mind. Because if you're looking at you having a clear mind, then you start to have a clear mind. It's pretty weird. It's cool. Um, but it's with thoughts, what I found is amazing is majority of the thoughts that roll through your mind can actually be other people's thoughts. You can literally telepathically pick up on all this stuff from other people. So if you can weed out other people's thoughts and just be left with your own thoughts, that could be a huge shift. And then if you can actually start to let your own thoughts go and just hold this image of clear mind in front of you, and then you can start to just have no thoughts, and where it's just just kind of just you know it's almost like you're flatlining, in in your headspace, and it's in a positive, a wonderful way. um but yeah, that's what I've experienced. That can be really helpful. It's challenging, but it's something I think to play with or work with for sure.
yeah, yeah.
So
That by itself too could be in a whole episode. Just the monkey mind meditation thing.
yeah, Yeah, I feel like just from this episode, this conversation, I mean, there's just so much to talk about. I don't think that really ends anywhere. So
Yeah. Well, maybe if do we have an email yet, or any way that people can contact us?
don't have an email yet. Got to get that set up. But I mean, you
Okay.
can, if you're seeing this on YouTube, leave a comment.
Great. Yeah, because now that if there's only like a couple people that viewed the video, so
Yeah,
we can certainly answer comments. There's only a few people asking questions, so it'd be great. We can answer questions or see what people want to know about more.
yeah, yeah. That's great. Yeah, we'd love to kind of see what you're interested in us talking about. But yeah, I mean, if you're just listening to this kind of through a certain platform on a podcast, you just roll over to our YouTube page, surf the astral, find our videos, leave a comment, we'll look at it, and we can kind of go from there with it. But
Yeah, share your experience too. That'd be great. Just
yeah,
everybody be respectful. Nobody don't mess around. This is all supposed to be educational and beneficial. So just you know be nice in the comments.
yeah, no drama.
Yeah.
So,
But I love hearing other people's experiences, and I love because it's always good to learn from other people.
oh yeah, yeah, that's like my favorite thing is literally, you know, for me, like people, everybody loves stories, but like my favorite stories are literally hearing people's lucid dreams and out of body experiences. I could sit there and listen all day to that stuff.
Right?
So yeah, if you have your own personal experiences with meditation, especially lucid dreaming and astral projection, whether you're beginner, intermediate, advanced, whatever it is, please share it because we'd love to hear about it. Who knows? We might even have you on the podcast to talk about it. Who knows? So
Yeah. Yeah. Well, once we get some the contacts, we can
yeah,
have people reach out and stuff. It'd be cool.
awesome. Well,
So
this was fun.
yeah, you want to do
Uh,
the you want to do the sign off?
yeah. Everyone, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Again, find us on YouTube, Surf the Astral, and I think we're on Spotify, iTunes, and there's some other platforms that we just became available on. So just find us, follow us, leave comments. We'll eventually get an email. You can contact us, but love to hear from you, and hope you enjoyed the episode. We'll see you next time.
Yep. See you next time.
All right, see you.